Taking a large family on a vacation can get out of hand really fast as far as the budget's concerned, if you let it. For us, it's space for 7, activities for 7, and food for 7. Today, I want to invite you along on our recent trip to Big Cedar Lodge just outside of Branson, Missouri. I'm going to show you exactly how we maximize the fun and the food while keeping my time in the kitchen short and the budget open for the activities that take the trip to over-the-top fun for the kids. The secret to our vacationing success is to make sure we're staying somewhere with a full kitchen. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks for my crew would just be cost prohibitive if we ate out every single meal while we were away. What I like to do is some advanced planning and a few hours in the kitchen the day before we roll out. In the past, we went on vacation without me doing the advanced prep, and I find that I spend a little more time in the kitchen with both cooking and cleanup than if I spend just a couple hours at home where I have every tool at my disposal that I love and where I can find everything at a moment's notice. So this is definitely my preferred method moving forward. Now to get started today, I decided to pre-cook 2 packs of bacon. You saw the first going in there. I love to cook it in the oven because while it's in there, I can knock out other prep tasks and still be able to monitor it to the doneness of my liking. Now, because we're going to be reheating this, I do cook it slightly under what we would normally cook it to if we were gonna eat it right away. I don't wanna overcook it when I'm reheating it because my kids don't like crispy bacon. So this is kind of one of those things that you have to walk a fine line with, especially when you're using it for advanced prep moving forward. Now, while that's in the oven, I'm working on my peppers. Now, it looks like a ton of peppers here, but I'm cutting up for peppers and onions that I'm going to go ahead and saute over on my cast iron skillet. They are going to be used with some eggs that we have down the road, but I cut up extras because I wanted to make sure that we could have a veggie tray while we're on the road. The garden is so full of peppers right now, so this is the perfect snack for my kiddos. Little did I know that the amount I was chopping up would be gone the first day. They didn't get a hold of all of the cucumbers and other things that I chopped up, but those peppers went so fast. I really could have chopped up 2 or 3 times that many because my kids love them that much. Now, as you can see, I am taking the bacon off of my cooking sheets and going ahead and laying it out on some cooling racks. This allows the bacon to cool, but it also lets the grease drop down below. So I'm not going to take a lot of extra bacon grease with me on top of the bacon. Although, as you'll see in a minute, I am going to pour some off and make sure to take it with me so we can add it to anything that we're cooking up while we're gone. I even tossed a little bit of it into the cast iron pan that the peppers and onions are going straight into right now. Not only does this impart a fantastic flavor, but it's dual purpose in that I'm not actually paying for an extra cooking oil because I just got it naturally right off the bacon that we've already prepared. My goal with these peppers and onions is to really give a beautiful caramelization, get them really roasted down nicely, and to make sure that we can use them for any kind of topping that we want on our breakfast moving forward. Now, while those are over in the pan, I'm spinning around to another project that I wanted to get going, which is a homemade hummus. I sauteed off some canned beans over on the stove, and then after that was done, I rinsed them and I'm throwing all of the basic ingredients into my food processor. Now this is super, super easy, and I will make sure to link the recipe down below, as well as any other recipe that you might see me using during this process, just for the ease of use if this is something that you want to make at home. It did say that you could roast off the garlic cloves if you wanted to, or you could just use them normal, and it gave options for several other add-ins, but I wanted to keep this as easy as possible because obviously I have a few other things going on at this time. I did double this recipe, and the kids actually really loved it, and I thought it would make a great little dose of protein to go along with the veggie tray that we were going to be taking as well. You make sure to thin it out with water to the consistency of your liking. And I have to say, this is something you kind of got to play with. This was perfect at this moment, but then when it's set up in the refrigerator, it did get a little thicker. So I wanted to make sure to thin that out a little bit more next time. Now here I am making a homemade blue cheese dressing, except I'm not adding in the blue cheese crumbles. This way, for my kids that don't actually like blue cheese, but still like the flavor of the dressing, they can have this dressing when we do another meal coming forward on our trip without the crumbles added in. And those of us who like the crumbles can just toss them on top. So this dressing comes together really, really easily. It has a mayo base, some sour cream, garlic, salt, pepper, and a little bit of sugar. And it's really, really good. The recipe itself calls for buttermilk, but I didn't have any, so just threw a little raw milk in there. Definitely just be flexible and use whatever you have available. And there was a little kick of Worcestershire sauce that I didn't actually show on camera, but it really turns out to be a delicious dressing. And I would recommend this one for sure. Again, this one will be down below for anyone who wants to see it. To make it super easy, I put this pour top lid on top that I'm trying out, and we really loved it. So that's the basics of what I packed on our way. Of course, the snacks that I picked up from Thrive Market a couple weeks ago, but now I want to take you in and show you the cabin where we'll be staying for the week. Now, these cabins have 2 bedrooms. One is over here to your right and one to your left. They have 2 bathrooms, full laundry, kitchen, and just a great deck out back that's private. It's wonderful space. The couch also pulls out, so that's where a couple of our kiddos go. And as any normal family can attest, the biggest fight is over who has to sleep on the pull-out couch. But this one was actually super comfortable. Because we only live a couple hours away, we try to come down here a couple times a year, so the boys get the bedroom one time and the girls the next. I had to make everybody kind of wait before they started to unpack and crash around because I wanted to make sure you saw it clean before everybody else jumped in. Now, if you're from our part of the country, you know that we have a ton of lakes around. Big Cedar Lodge is actually right on the shoreline of Table Rock Lake down in Southwest Missouri. So with it being at the peak of summer, we decided to grab a boat and take it out for a few hours. There are several different options that you can do as far as how long that you're going to go, and they were great. We actually rented a tube to go along with it, and they gave us a map showing us which way to go to make sure we were safe for tubing, and the kids just had an absolute blast. This isn't something that we typically do when we come down here, but we were able to squeeze it in. We actually did this right before we checked into the cabin. So this allowed us to get the fun started a little bit before check-in time. So it worked out perfectly. After that, we came back home, everybody showered up, and I got to work on our dinner. I had planned, just like I plan at home, to do a huge protein meal the first night and use those leftovers for meals coming forward. Now, just a heads up, I am a little bit extra, some might say. So yes, I packed my own pans, I bring my own cutting board, and I bring my favorite knife, along with a few other things that I find super helpful in the kitchen. There is a variety of options available, but I'm just really cautious about the things that I use as far as nonstick and what is going to be safe for our family. So I did go ahead and pack those things, bringing them down. So to get started, I'm making a rice using some beef bone broth in there for added flavor because we are serving this alongside some steak, which you'll see here in just a moment. The rice was actually the only portion of this meal that I personally had to cook. So it came together super, super easy for me. Just as a side note, this meal was actually a request of one of my boys. He's having a birthday coming up super soon, and he wanted to eat his birthday meal while we were gone on the trip. Now, most typically, we let our kids pick the restaurant instead of doing a party because with 5 kids and birthdays pretty close together, that would be nonstop parties for about 2.5 months. But instead of a restaurant meal, he wanted those 2 steaks that you see right in the front. They're a cut called Denver, and you can get them really easily if you're custom butchering, but most of the time they're hard to find anywhere else. But this was his request, so this is what we made happen. The rest of us are having ribeyes, and while he won't eat the entire steak in one setting, he does a pretty good job of finishing off that Denver steak throughout the week. Now, the last thing that we're going to get prepped to go along with this meal is some asparagus that I picked up. We are going to put it in some bacon grease, add some lemon pepper, and get it out on the grill. Now, remember, I'm comparing the cost of my meals to what it would be if we were eating out. If we went to have the steak dinner, which is what he wanted for his birthday, it would be astronomical to take 7 different people out to make that happen. So I was happy to get it for him and to have it here in the cabin where we could control the ingredients and control the quality and still have a delicious meal that made our vacation special, as well as gave us leftovers for a lunch that I have coming soon. Now, while we're here at the cabin, we decided to take advantage of the grill that's outside on the deck. They keep them covered so they're super clean and ready to go. gassed up for us, so no problems at all. The cool thing is, if you can see here, this one has wavy grates, so it kept the asparagus from falling down, which was super nice. Now, I did coat this in bacon grease, as I mentioned earlier, so you might see a few flare-ups, but we love the flavor that comes along with asparagus off the grill, and especially covered in lemon pepper. Now, just below our deck, we had a couple visitors, and I got one of them on camera for you. This is a little wooded space, and as you can see, the deer here are so used to company and stuff going on that even the kids being outside on the deck did not deter them. They were interested in hanging out and actually played down there for quite a while before the kids went down to start throwing around some footballs. While we're outside getting ready to grill, I wanted to take just a minute to update you on my typhur Sync Dual. This meat thermometer package has been so used and so well loved in our family that I am so happy to be able to take just a minute to give you an update for those of you who are curious about how it's working out. The typhur gives me 2 different 6-sensor rechargeable probes with a base that gives temperature updates, but it also has an app where I can monitor my cook via Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. So even when I have to run a quick errand at the house, I can still make sure my meat is cooked to perfection and not going over the temperature. If you're looking for something similar, I know there are so many brands out on the market, but this one really stands out to me, having both the Wi-Fi built in the base as well as the Bluetooth. And I definitely would recommend you taking a look at the Sync because the app is so easy to use. Check out my link below and couple it with code THEHOMETOWN to save an additional 10% today when adding this super useful tool to your kitchen. Thanks again to Typhur for sponsoring today's video. With the steaks coming off the grill, it was time to finish up the remainder of the meal. Now, the steaks themselves did need to set for about 10 minutes to make sure that they continued to cook until the full temperature and to lock in all of the juices that were inside. Once they reached that exact temperature, I got an alert on my phone and went ahead and pulled out the thermometers and got these over to the table. Now, my husband is leaning very protein heavy, so he's taking a full ribeye, where my son, the birthday guy, is looking for mainly meat also, but I did go ahead and cut up a lot of this to make plating up easy. So rice, the steak, and the asparagus was on the menu for tonight, as well as what was left of my veggie tray that I made earlier in the day. And if you can see the fancy glasses that the girls are drinking out of there, the wine glasses full of water were a huge hit. And we only broke one on the trip, which of course is likely to happen with little ones using such a fancy cup. They had so much fun and they really enjoyed this meal, leaving us the perfect amount of leftovers to enjoy for the remainder of the time that we were in Branson. One of the things that we love most about staying at Big Cedar is the number of amenities that we can do right on property that are free. They have tons of activities scheduled and different things that you can do daily. Some of them you do pay for, but the majority of them you don't. And this mini golf course is right on the property. Of course, the kids' favorite hole, the big bass. You putt from the green and the hole is actually inside the fish. Now, on this particular day, of course, it was exceptionally hot in there, but the sunset was so beautiful while we were out there. I couldn't help but take a couple pictures to show you one of our favorite things to do while we're here. Okay, we are back in the kitchen and I'm about to give this steak new life. I'm turning it into a bacon and blue cheese wrap, which was a huge hit for all of us. I'll just tell you in advance. But all you need to do is take the lettuce and get it chopped up small enough to eat in a single bite. Sometimes I've been guilty of making a little bit too large, but there's so many tiny mouths around here that that's super important. I'm also doing the same thing with one of the big ribeyes that was left over from the night before. Just small dicing this, and then I'm going to throw it into a bowl and get it straight into the microwave. Now, at home, I would use my air fryer, but that is something I did not pack to come down here. We do have a ton of luggage when we travel as a family of 7, so there are some things that I change a little bit when I'm on the road. We are not big microwave fans, but the ease and convenience of the one that I already knew was here is definitely a time savings. And like I said, one less thing to pack. So once I got the steak warmed up, I did the same thing with the bacon. And then I also brought a little jar of tomatoes straight from my garden so I could cut them up and put them in the wraps. Some of my kiddos want them in there, others don't, but it does add a juicy, delicious addition for those who do choose to have it. Now, I will say I did forget to add the crispy fried onions that I had set aside to go on this, so you won't see them pictured here. But if you do have some crispy onions, they also add a nice texture just to change up what you already have involved. Now, I took about 5 strips of bacon here, again, cutting them up small enough for a bite, and then it's time to just layer it up. So lettuce, then I'm adding bacon. We'll top it with steak, tomatoes on this one specifically, and also some blue cheese before adding my non-blue cheese blue cheese dressing on top and getting it wrapped up. As I mentioned before, there are a few people in our house that prefer to go a little less carb heavy. So I did make this into a beautiful steak bowl as an alternative for those who did not want the tortilla shell. It turned out so delicious. The total time that this took me to throw together was less than 5 minutes, which is a great amount of time for me personally to spend in the kitchen when we're on vacation. We're obviously not at this resort to waste time in the kitchen or spend time cleaning up. With lunch complete, it was time to catch a few more rays. So we headed over to the swimming area where we hit up this beautiful slide that the kids really, really love. There also is a little wading/splash pool that our little girlies love. And the most important attraction is the lazy river. We always hit it up before Labor Day because that's when it closes for the season. Now, the next morning, I woke up early and I wanted to take in the sunrise and bring you along with me. So I'm going to take about a minute here to show you exactly how gorgeous this place is.
Appalachian sunrise meets my skin. Even with my eyes still closed, I can feel it coming in. Golden, I'll follow, only golden, golden, golden things. Mountain laurel high fives for miles in spring. Rainbow trout and a hummingbird wing. Golden, I'll follow, only golden, golden, golden things. Gold hair, gold rings, gold leaves, gold anything, golden, I'll follow, only golden, golden, golden things.
I can tell you that sunrise looks so cool on camera, but it was nothing compared to how gorgeous it was in person. But when I woke up, a few of my littles were starting to wake up, so it was time to throw together a quick breakfast. Now we are having bacon and eggs, of course, scrambling up several. I think I scrambled like 8. And then I'm frying up eggs for those who don't want scrambled. I know it seems like a short order cook to do several different options, but eggs are so quick and easy that I find that it's just pretty simple to make everybody happy. And when I can do that, I like to. So what I have there is the peppers and onions that we prepped the day before we came. I just brought them down in a little jar and rewarmed them in the microwave to make it quick and easy. Now here you can see I went ahead and put my scrambled eggs in. They really don't take any time at all to pull together. And once they are complete, I can go ahead and start serving the first round of kiddos. I have 4 that like scrambled eggs with all different toppings, a ketchup lover, and a couple that like shredded cheese. Now, lucky for them, there was actually a cheese grater up in the cabinet. I didn't bring one. I figured they'd be fine if I just chunked it up. But it was really nice to have that already here and be able to just shred a quick block of our favorite raw cheese that I pick up from Azure Standard. So once I added the bacon to the plates, that takes care of the first 4 kiddos. The other one is getting his fried egg, and then my husband and I also had fried eggs to go along with it with our bacon. And of course, I topped mine off with those beautiful peppers and onions. I did bring down my caraway pan. This isn't the pan that I would normally use for eggs, but since we're on the road, I wanted one vessel that I could do everything I needed to do in, which included cooking that rice back on the first day. So that's why this is the one that came with us. And I also used it to pack several of the smaller jars of seasonings and things that I was bringing. So it doubled up and it worked out just fine. Now, while we were here, we tackled veggie tray after veggie tray filled with cucumbers, carrots, peppers, and the hummus. We also had tons of snacks on that steak. We ate the bacon and everything else that we brought along, so we didn't really need to do a lot of snacking elsewhere. Now, that's a really good depiction of what our breakfasts, lunches, dinners, and snacks look like while we're on vacation. But we always eat out at least a time or two while we're gone. Today, I brought you along to our favorite place to eat with the kiddos, which is Fun Mountain, right on the Big Cedar property. There are tables and a restaurant right over here to the right, just off screen. And this is a place where the kids can play while we're waiting on our food to come out or, after we're finished before we go on to some of the other awesome activities that they have here available at this location. The best part of the time that we were here, which this actually was dinner time, it's just a Wednesday in the middle of week after school started. So the bulk of the vacationing families were gone. Our kids got to take advantage of the bumper cars all by themselves. The 4 of them, of course, got to ride. Our 5-year-old was so excited that she was tall enough, and baby sister was a little sad that she didn't get to participate, but she definitely got to have her fun before we left. She is a huge fan of bowling, and they have the coolest bowling alley right here at Fun Mountain. Needless to say, we're big fans of Big Cedar. So if you're in the center of the United States looking for a Destin of the Midwest, make sure to check it out. And if you're interested in a digital thermometer for your chef in the family, make sure to use code THEHOMETOWN at the link in the description to save 10% on yours today. Thanks for coming along on vacation with us. I hope you picked up some great meal ideas, and we'll see you back soon.